Hello and welcome indeed to my channel. My name is David Novak. This is going to be a quick unhaul video. I am finding it hard to find the books I want to pick out from their cranny, and so I really must pare down the holdings. This was a book that I read last year. I very rarely jump on the bandwagon and go for what everybody else is going for. In this case, I did. Graeber is an interesting chap, or was, I should say. He sadly was taken by COVID, or the after effects of COVID. This is a sloppy book. There's one sentence by Voltaire that really got the goat of the Davids, and then they refer to it about 15 times in the course of the book. There's a lot of repetition. A good editor would have helped. I don't think all of his ideas are bad. Some of his ideas are quite good, I would suppose, but when you have to go through that much work to get into them, no. But I did read it, though. This is a biography of Somerset Maugham. There you can see the man, not known for his physical beauty. However, he was immensely wealthy, so I suppose that makes up for some deficits in physical beauty. Now, there's a novel out now which takes Maugham as a character, and a lot of people are reading this novel and enjoying it. I think it's a disservice to Maugham to take the novelist's view of his marriage. I would recommend a good biography of Maugham and get the lowdown yourself. Even more than that, rather than taking Maugham as a character in a novel, I would highly recommend that you read his short stories. Penguin has or had them in a set of 4 volumes, and they're all worth reading, or at least they were when I read them. My view has changed on other things over time, so possibly on that as well. This was something I picked up somewhere, and it breaks my heart to give this one up. I just love this cover. I love this cover more than any other cover I've seen on a book in like 24 years. Am I exaggerating a little bit? And unfortunately, I looked into the contents of the book, and I just don't care for the book. Now, you might see a little bit of a cat right here. That's because there is a box, which these are going into. And of course, when there's a box, there has to be a cat. Excuse me. Yep, thank you. What is this? The Flowering of the Renaissance. I have no idea why this was put into the pile. I know I'm not going to be reading it. He's behind the camera now, so that may be more problematic than the box. Sometimes the camera gets tipped over. The classic Chinese novel. This would be a fine book to read, I think. I got it when I was reading The Plum in the Golden Vase. However, it's one of those books that came with something of a stench to it, and I just cannot bear it. I'm not really smitten with this guy's writing, though everybody makes reference to this guy. He was big in his time. You would think he would have been superseded by other literary scholars, but it appears not to be the case, or at least I am not aware of who they might be. The Gospel of Judas, picked this up somewhere, probably from a neighborhood box. God knows why, but it's not the kind of thing that I'm interested in. I thought perhaps I might be. Book business. I read this. I was looking for, there is a literary memoir, or a publisher's memoir, I should say, that I glimpsed many years ago in the public library in Evanston. Don't remember who it was. I was hoping it might be this. It was not. It's a fairly insipid book. just a memoir. This, Jude the Obscure, it's a duplicate. Now this is the second edition. I am saving the first edition because I doubt there's any critical difference between them. And I think the first edition is a cleaner copy. Who wants all that stuff? Haha. Lo and behold, another David Graeber. The cover makes it kind of hard. You know, it looks like a self-published sort of thing. I read this. It had its brilliant parts. He commits one of the cardinal sins in my book, which is he repeats himself or he duplicates himself. So you'll be reading a paragraph and you're thinking to yourself, I've read this exact paragraph somewhere else. And then you scour around and, oh yes, he did. He used it in a different essay in a different book. That's insupportable in my mind. An invitation to cooking. This is from the old bachelor days. It's filthy, and my partner insisted, because it's filthy and cannot be cleaned any further, to get rid of it. It was replaced with a better hardbound copy, although the design of the hardbound copy is not as nice as this, but that's the way it is. 6 Records of a Floating Life, duplicate copy. So duplicate, in fact, that I read it twice and was only about halfway when I realized I had read it previously, which was okay. It was worth the reread. It's a very, very short book. If you're doing the Shorty September thing, take a gander at this if you like. Jean Lartaguy's The Centurions. This is the worst book I've read in the last 18 months. Is it 18? 12? No, 20 months, I think. 20 months. It's racist. Not only are the characters racist, but the author is racist, and he's pandering to a racist reading public. You know, the book that I just finished by Victor Serge has its racist moments. On 2 occasions, he mentions Asians and he calls them slant-eyed. It bugged me, and for that, I would not recommend the Victor Serge book, the Case of Comrade Tulayev, to any of my friends. This is that multiplied by 1,000-fold. And you can say, oh, well, that's how those boys were in the military. No. It's not just a question of those boys in the military being that way, shooting the gooks or whatever it was. Avoid. And this, while I was over the years just picking up random books from the clearance shelves, if it was a Penguin, I would grab it. And this is something I wound up in triplicate, or with triplicate. So I do hope to read it one of these days. I've heard good things about it on BookTube, but I don't need 3 copies of it. Lives of the Artists. I read this long ago, and I was thinking about the cat is doing something with the camera over there, claiming it as his own. I read this in my youth, and I was hoping to reread it soon, and I decided to get a trade paperback instead of the mass market. I kept my eye out for it at the charity, I think, and when it showed up, I nabbed it. Now, this is a little work of history, and I just think it's outdated. It only goes up until 1964, and I decided, even though it was an important book in its day, something a little more current would be in order for this kind of thing. Daniel Defoe, Mouthlanders. Again, I found a better copy somewhere. This, I don't know that I have a better copy of this. It's one of those things, I ordered it and it was in perfect condition, but it's just a ratty old mass market paperback and too yellow for me. I can't read things that are that yellow. Excuse me, I got to put a book there. Where there's a box, there's a cat. Punctuation for clarity. In a former lifetime, this probably would have been a handy book. Published by Barnes & Noble, of all things. Who punctuates anymore? And then the last of this group, something of a sad book. I was reading Scott Timberg while his series of articles about the collapse of culture was being published at salon.com. I really liked the guy, and he sadly was a victim of the crisis he was writing about and wound up committing suicide. It was a very great loss to the empire of letters, I think, in our day. Very, very tragic. So these books are all going. If I had the space, I would hold on to it for sentimental purposes, but in these times, who can afford to do such a thing? There may be other boxes coming. Thank you for stopping by my channel.